So we are going to compare both of the phones in terms of the overall physical dimensions they have, in the kind of color which we have. We have the white version of the Gionee eLife S5.5, and we have the white version of the iPhone 5 as well. So again, in terms of the overall form factor, these phones are kind of similar in terms of the overall, not in terms of the form factor, but in terms of the build quality at least. You have aluminum magnesium alloy over here, which is on the edges of the Gionee eLife S5.5, whereas on the iPhone we have aluminum over here on the edges, and both of them has kind of similar build quality. That is something which we can say. At the top we can see we have the power and sleep key on the iPhone 5. We have the micro USB port for data syncing and charging. We do have some bands like these over here on the S5.5 for the radio and antenna, for the Wi-Fi and other things. You have similar kind of bands on the iPhone 5 as well. Both of these phones will support SIM card which has to be inserted inside the body, whereas the iPhone 5 support a nano SIM. The Gionee S5.5 support a micro SIM in terms of connectivity when it comes to SIM card. At the bottom we have the 8-pin connector on the iPhone 5. We have the 3.5mm audio jack over here. 3.5mm audio jack on the iPhone 5 is over here, and we have the loudspeaker and the mic on the iPhone 5, whereas on this device we have the primary mic over here, and the secondary mic on this device I'm not able to locate. Okay, so secondary mic is actually below the camera. When we talk about the camera on both of these phones, we have a 13 megapixel camera on this phone on the S5.5, whereas we have an 8 megapixel camera on iPhone 5. We have an LED flash over here. We have a true tone LED flash over here, a dual color LED flash. We do have a secondary microphone on iPhone 5 as well. So in terms of the camera, we have 8 megapixel camera module over here, autofocus supported. We have another 13 megapixel camera module over here with autofocus supported. We have the secondary mic as well on both of these phones. LED flash is also there, but LED flash is definitely better on the iPhone 5. Now if you compare these phones from the edges, we can see that the S5.5 is actually much thinner in terms of comparison when it comes to thickness when we compare it with an iPhone 5. So in terms of thickness, it is definitely much slimmer. When we talk about the weight of these two phones is again pretty good, but again I would like to say that holding both of these phones in hand, I can easily say that iPhone 5 is again lighter, but again I'm not sure which one is more lighter in terms of the weight. They are fairly light in terms of the overall weight, but again this device has a little bit bigger form factor. You have a full high definition display on this device, which will again give you a better experience, especially for multimedia, whereas on iPhone 5 you have a pretty much small display. This small display may not be that good, especially for entertainment needs. When it comes to the size comparison, we can compare both of these phones as of now in terms of the size as well. And when we compare these phones in terms of the size, we can see that we have a 4-inch display on this device, which is not a full high definition display, but again you won't see any kind of pixelation on the iPhone 5, whereas on the Gionee S5.5 we have a 5-inch full high definition display, which is actually pretty crisp and clear in terms of the overall pixels, whereas on iPhone 5 as well it is also pretty good in terms of the overall pixels. So there is no problem as far as the pixel clarity or the pixel density is concerned on both of these two displays. Again, we have a new iPhone coming very soon in the market, so we will give you an overview with that one as well. Right now again the iPhone is a little bit on the lower side, at least on the display department, because the display is smaller, whereas you get a full 5-inch full high definition display on the Gionee S5.5. Now if we compare these phones from this side, we can see we have the power and sleep key on the Gionee S5.5. We have the volume rocker on this device, and both of the buttons are metal buttons. On the iPhone 5 we have the volume buttons which are separated, volume increase and volume decrease, and you have a silent button on the iPhone 5 which is not there on the S5.5. If we take a look at the bottom, at the bottom you can see that both of these phones are kind of similar in terms of the overall material which has been used. When we talk about the back has glass on the Gionee S5.5, whereas we have metal which is aluminum on the iPhone 5, and here we do not have glass over here, but it is actually some good quality plastic which they have used on these two parts on the top and bottom, whereas on S5.5 we have complete glass which is actually being holded by this metal aluminum magnesium alloy frame. When we talk about the front also is glass. It is completely glass on the Gionee S5.5 as you can see, whereas on iPhone 5 as well it is complete glass. So in terms of the overall build quality, both of these phones actually come very close to each other in terms of the overall comparison. As far as hardware specs are concerned, hardware specs are different. You have an octa-core processor on the Gionee S5.5, whereas you have a dual core processor on the iPhone 5. But again, the kind of operating system iPhone has, which is iOS 7, is actually very smooth even with these hardware configurations, which is actually much lesser as compared to the Gionee S5.5 in comparison. So this is the overall comparison basically as far as hardware is concerned. The physical build quality is actually very premium and very good and strong enough on both of these phones. I just accidentally dropped this phone actually on the floor and nothing happened to the phone. But again, I would not recommend you to do that, because when I dropped it, there was carpet on the floor, so nothing happened to the phone. But on a glass floor, this glass over here, especially on the back side, I don't know how much proof it is, or how much resistant it is to actually a drop from the waist height. But when it comes to the front we have a Corning Gorilla Glass 3. As far as the backside is concerned, whether we have Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on the backside or not, we will confirm that later on. But on the front, we definitely have a Corning Gorilla Glass 3, which is actually much stronger. And again, it can resist to the scratches as well as to drop from waist height very easily without any issues. As far as the front camera is concerned, let me just talk about the front camera. The front camera on the Gionee S5.5 is a 5 megapixel camera. It is fixed focus camera. We have the nice metallic earpiece over here. We have the nice metallic earpiece over here. On the front camera on the iPhone 5 is, I guess, 1.2 megapixel, but I'm not very sure. You have the proximity and ambient light sensors over here. We have the proximity and ambient light sensors over here as well. So both of these phones are equally powerful in terms of the overall hardware they will need, especially for the current usage scenario. When it comes to using both of these phones, in the current usage scenario, you can actually install any application on any of these two phones. They are equally powerful and they are equally capable of running any latest application which you can think of. When it comes to the build quality, they come very close. When it comes to the overall physical endurance, they come very close. When it comes to the hardware, there is a little gap in between the hardware configuration. The hardware is much older on the iPhone 5, but still, being this phone is a much older phone as compared to the age of the S5.5, which is just launched today. It has been launched for a price of 22,999, which is the MRP of this phone. So you can actually get it for a lesser price as well. If you bargain in the market, that is something you can do. But again, this phone is much younger as compared to an iPhone 5. But still, the iPhone 5 is actually having the updates when it comes to the OS very frequently, and it is capable of running the latest version of iOS quite smoothly. But when it comes to the Gionee S5.5, this device is running Android 4.2.2, and it should be getting the future version of Android as well, as we have actually got the information from Gionee. So we will expect some new version of Android coming on this phone, but we cannot confirm as of now whether you will get KitKat 4.4 or not. KitKat 4.4 you might get on this device if this device is sold in volumes. That is something which we expect. But in terms of the overall comparison, I would like to say that physical build quality of both of these phones is very close. They are very good in terms of the build quality, both of them. So the S5.5 in terms of the thickness is much slimmer. It is also kind of light. However, I would like to say that if I hold both of these phones in hand, I can easily feel that iPhone 5 is little bit lighter, I guess, as compared to the Gionee S5.5. But again, Gionee S5.5 is also pretty light in terms of the overall weight. We are not sure about the exact weight, but we will confirm that later on. I will add the annotation for that in the video. When it comes to the power, the hardware is definitely different. The cameras are different, but again, the 8 megapixel camera on the iPhone 5 is quite popular on internet. This is one of the most popular smartphone camera you will find on internet, on which the people actually take photos and upload it on the internet, whereas the 13 megapixel camera module on this phone is also pretty good. So let me just take a photo from these two phones to actually compare the camera, and before we do that, let me just show you the phones closely. So if you actually take a closer look on both of these phones, you can see that the thickness of S5.5 is definitely low. You also have a better octa-core processor on the S5.5, but again, the OS which is running on the S5.5 is Android, and you have Amigo 2.0 running on top of Android. So that is a different kind of ROM altogether. It will give you a very good interface. That is something which we can tell you, which is definitely going to give you much better experience, especially when it comes to entertainment, multimedia. You have different kind of apps which you can actually install on this device, and this device will keep on working pretty well without any issues. The kind of hardware it has like an octa-core processor, 1.7 GHz, MediaTek 6592, and you have 2 GB of RAM. And again, when it comes to the memory, you have 16 GB of inbuilt memory. let me just show you some of the details of this device, not all. So again, we have done a hands-on for this device earlier, in which we have showed you all the details. Let me just confirm those details on this device, which is now full-fledged and launched in India. So it is the 4.2.2 is running on this device. As far as storage is concerned, let me just talk about the storage. So the storage on this device is 16 GB, and out of which around 12.39 GB is available. So you have 12.39 GB available to the user in total on the 32 GB variant, on the 16 GB variant basically, whereas on the 32 GB variant you will get around 24 GB approximately available. When it comes to the application scenario, let me just show you the current status of the RAM. So we have all the applications which are running on this device as of now, and as of now around 1.4 GB of RAM is being used, whereas you get around 551 MB of RAM free, which is fairly less. But again, we have installed a couple of applications on this device, some benchmark utilities as well, because of which it has taken some space and some gains as well. So again, we are going to give you a detailed in-depth review of this device later. As of now, if we compare this device with iPhone 5, this is no way inferior to an iPhone 5. Very good in terms of the build quality, very good in terms of the hardware. You have a better camera as well, and again the quality of camera is something which we will comment later on. But you have a 13 megapixel camera module on this device, whereas we have an 8 megapixel camera on iPhone 5. Both of them autofocus. You can record high definition videos from both of these devices. As far as the rear camera is concerned, the front camera is again higher on this one as well. The front camera is a 5 megapixel fixed focus. You have 1.2 megapixel I guess on the iPhone 5. And again, when we talk about the display is also on the higher side. So the display is full high definition on this one, whereas you have a retina display which is not full high definition, but it is pretty good in terms of the pixel clarity, and you will definitely not notice any pixelation on this device as far as the display is concerned, because this display is actually small and resolution is good enough for this display. It is a 4-inch display, but again the kind of color reproduction you have on both of these displays is pretty good. The kind of brightness levels you have on both of these phones is pretty good. When it comes to the viewing angles are good on both of these phones, and I can show you that. You can see the display from this angle without any issues on this phone. As you can see it, and on the iPhone 5 as well, you can see the display from extreme angles without any issues. So in terms of the overall display comparison, both of these phones are good, but again iPhone lags behind in terms of the display size, which is higher on the Gionee S5.5. When it comes to other things of the device, we do have a very good hardware configuration on this device. So when we summarize all the points together, we have a better camera on this device, we have a faster processor on Gionee S5.5, we have the not the latest version of Android, but again the Android 4.2.2, which is running smoothly on this device. And when it comes to the thickness of the S5.5 is also less as compared to the thickness of the S5.5 is also less as compared to an iPhone 5. That is something which we can tell you. As far as the weight is concerned, the weight is also pretty comparable. It is not lighter again, but it is pretty comparable to the weight of an iPhone 5. But when it comes to the overall physical build quality, the physical build quality is again both of these phones have is pretty good. You have a pretty good build quality on the S5.5 in comparison with an iPhone 5. So this is the complete comparison we would like to give you in terms of all the points which I mentioned in this video. So do let us know if you have any specific questions for any of these two devices. We would love to help you. You can like this video if this video helped you by clicking the like button below. You can subscribe to our YouTube video channel for more videos like this by clicking the subscribe button below. Thanks for watching this video. This is Abhishek signing off. Thank you.